place is a really important topic for our exams. One that students don't always devote that much time to revising as they're clamouring to cover pricing strategies, methods of promotions, or product concepts like life cycles and Boston Matrix. Place is an important part of the marketing mix. It's a really crucial element of maximising success for businesses. So in this video, we're going to take a look at some of the different factors that influence a business's place or distribution strategy. We're going to have a look at how businesses can try and maximise the coverage that they achieve with their distribution strategies. And we're going to try and have a look at some of the different channels of distributions or routes that businesses can use to get their products to the end consumer. So let's start off with what impacts on a business's place strategy. What are those factors that influence the distribution strategy that a business uses? Well, first of all, businesses have got to decide what their priority is with their place strategy. What is it that's most important to them? Is it cost? Is it convenience? Is it maximising coverage? Or is it maintaining control? And we'll talk you through those four different elements, really try and explain what we mean by those. So businesses are working to budgets. And although many businesses might like the idea of having their products in as wide a variety of outlets as possible, cost is an issue. And generally, the more that you try to get your products onto the market, the more different channels of distribution you try to utilise, the greater the cost might be. And there are some methods of distribution that can be very expensive. Classically, building your own stores to sell products directly yourself is a very costly way of selling, because you're going to have the cost of purchasing or renting land, of hiring and training up staff, of all of the fixtures and fittings for your premises. So it's a very costly way, and businesses have got to weigh up what's important to them. Are they happy to endure quite high costs to ensure that they have the place strategy that they desire, or a budget's going to dictate that maybe the business has to sacrifice some of its desired strategy in order to come in at cost? The next factor a business has got to deem how important it is in their place strategy is convenience. There are some products that consumers are prepared to travel for. They will put lots and lots of research into that purchasing decision, and if they have to travel some distance to buy that product, they're prepared to do so. But there are other products that are perhaps a bit more staple to consumers, that they will buy more regularly, and perhaps they might be less brand loyal to, and they really value convenience. They value that product being readily available. Often it might be a product that they don't go out of their way to buy. Maybe they just pick it up or impulse purchase when they're buying something else. So one of the other factors businesses have really got to consider in their place strategy is, do they need to make sure that they are convenient for customers? Do they need to make sure that wherever consumers are shopping, your product is there? Now, a similar aspect of place strategy that businesses need to think carefully about is the amount of coverage that they want to try and achieve. And strange enough, you can have quite good coverage without necessarily being convenient. So coverage is literally the number of outlets or the number of places that your products are available from. So if you got your product into every supermarket in the country, you would be achieving quite broad coverage. Not necessarily always that convenient, because consumers that are perhaps shopping at more independent local stores won't find your products there, but you have achieved a broad coverage, and with coverage comes sales. Other thing that the business needs to try and consider is how much control they need to retain over the marketing process. So the broader your coverage and the more outlets your products are for sale in, strangely, the less control you then have over the marketing process, because as soon as you start selling your products indirectly to consumers yourself, making use of third-party intermediaries that are going to distribute your product for you, you've lost control of the marketing process. Those retailers or wholesalers can then decide what prices your products are going to be sold at. They can then decide what kind of promotions your business's products are going to be involved in. So if you want to retain control, you've got to think about your place strategy carefully. Now, one of the biggest aspects that many large organisations in particular are very, very keen to achieve is as broad a coverage as possible. For most products, unless they're really trying to restrict supply in order to maintain an image of exclusivity, they want to try and accomplish as broad a coverage as they possibly can. And there are some factors that businesses might work on in order to try and maximize the coverage that they can try and achieve. So first of all, businesses might focus on branding their products in order to try and achieve a broader coverage. They've got to try and make their products desirable to retailers and wholesalers. They've got to try and convince these third parties that they want to stock their products, that consumers are looking for their products. One way to do that is to try and achieve strong brand names. If you've got products in your portfolio that consumers recognize, that consumers are asking about, that consumers are looking to purchase, then it almost forces retailers' hands and is going to maximize your sales because consumers are looking for your products because of the strong brand name they've got. Now, that's all well and good, but developing those strong brand names obviously comes at a cost, and you might have to invest heavily in promotions and marketing and advertising to achieve that brand name, but it can certainly help with maximizing the coverage of your place strategy. Another way of maximizing coverage is to employ people who try to achieve that for you. So many big organizations will have armies of sales reps that will go out and visit different retailers, making pitches about why retailers need to stock these products. And again, obviously that is going to come at a cost. These people are going to have to be paid salaries and commissions and bonuses, but it's another way of trying to achieve a greater coverage for your products. Perhaps another way that you could do it is to try and almost sweeten the deal for retailers and convince them that they need to stock your products by offering retailers higher profit margins on the goods that they will buy from you. So you could try and sell your goods to retailers at lower rates so that when retailers sell them onto the end consumer, they are making a bigger profit margin, making it more attractive for them to sell. One final way that you could do it is to try and establish what are called brand partnerships as well. Maybe trying to sign exclusivity deals with certain retailers or chains of retailers so that they will only stock your products and not rivals. So you're really trying to just maximize your coverage and almost exclude your rivals there. And you'll notice that many fast food restaurants, for example, will only stock one major brand of carbonated drinks because they've signed an exclusivity deal with them, which precludes that fast food retailer from selling rivals' beverages as well. Now, final thing we can tell you about place is exactly how products can get to consumers. And what we need to look at for this is what are known as channels of distribution. That literally means the route a product takes to get to the end consumer. You'll see here we've got three classic routes that products might take as they pass between the business that produces the good in the first place until it gets into the end consumer's shopping bag. So the first is to do what we call a zero level channel of distribution. So when you adopt a zero level of channel of distribution, it means that you've prioritized control as part of your place strategy. So you're going to sell the product directly to the end consumer yourself. Could be through traditional bricks and mortar stores, shops, premises that you've built and run yourself. It could be through making use of e-commerce and your own internet platforms. It could be even making use of more niche place or distribution strategies like the use of catalogs or maybe even selling via the phone and calling customers directly in their homes. But with a zero level of channel of distribution, you've decided that control over the marketing process is important to you. So you're not going to use intermediaries in this channel. You're going to have platforms where you sell directly to the end consumer yourself. An alternative is to use what we call a one level channel of distribution. This time you're making use of what we call intermediary or third party that's going to sell your products on to the end consumer on your behalf. So they will buy them from you and then they will sell them on to the end user. Now, the classic way of doing this is to sell on to retailers, to sell on to perhaps national chains that have branches in towns and cities across the country, or maybe even online retailers that have a large electronic presence. And consumers will then visit their sites or visit their stores. They will find your products available there on the shelves. So you sell them on to the retailer, and the retailer then has the responsibility of selling those products on to the end consumer. Great way of achieving better coverage for your business's products, but a surefire way of losing a little bit of control over the marketing process. Now, if you're really looking to try and achieve convenience as part of your place strategy, you might use two-level channels of distribution instead or as well. So with two-level channels of distribution, this time we're selling our products onto wholesalers. So wholesalers buy products from you in bulk and then sell them on in smaller quantities to independent retailers. Not the big retailers that have chains across the country, but smaller independent retailers that might just have one branch or are perhaps more clustered in a local area that it wouldn't be cost effective for you to make deliveries to. So instead you sell to the wholesaler, and those smaller independent retailers visit that wholesaler, buy your products in slightly smaller quantities than, or perhaps much smaller quantities than you'd sell to the large retailers at, but they will then get your products into more convenient locations, into more localized independent outlets where consumers might be shopping. So we've got our different channels of distribution there, 0, 1 level and 2 level. There's no rules to say how many of these firms need to use. If you're really looking to maximize coverage, firms might use all three. So they might have their own retail outlets, they might have their own e-commerce platforms, but also get their products into retailers as well and large chains, but maybe even want to maximize that convenience for consumers. And so may even use two levels where they'll sell to wholesalers who will sell onto independent retailers before the end consumer buys it. So there you go. We've talked you through what influences a firm's distribution strategy. We've had a look at how you might maximize the coverage of your products if that's your key target. And then we've got our different channels of distribution that firms can use. If you've got questions about place or any other aspect of marketing or the A-level business specification, any questions you have, pop them in the comments box below. Don't forget to share and like this video, and good luck with your revision, and we'll see you very soon.